In this video, we are going to be taking a look at three-dimensional figures, and the essential question that we are going to figure out is how can you identify, describe, and classify three-dimensional figures. So a couple things that we need to go over just to get some background knowledge on three-dimensional figures. First of all, it's important to understand that a solid figure has three dimensions: length, width, and height. Okay, polyhedrons such as prisms and pyramids are three-dimensional figures with faces that are polygons. Okay, so we can see down at the bottom here, a prism is a polyhedron that has two congruent polygons as bases. Okay, moving on down, a polyhedron's lateral faces are polygons that connect with the bases. Okay, the lateral faces of a prism are rectangles. Okay, so we can see an example of this explanation. So a prism's base is used to name the solid. Okay, so we can see the base right here is a triangle, and a base right here is a triangle as well. Okay, once again, the two congruent polygons as bases. So a polygon is a base here, polygon is a base here, and they're both congruent. Okay, remember, same size and same shape as well. Okay, the base of this prism is a triangle. Okay, so since it is a triangle, the prism is a triangular prism. Okay, so we are going to take a look at some of these shapes of these prisms, and we're going to use terms in the box to correctly name the prism by its base shape. Okay, so first of all, we can take a look at this prism here, and we can see that the base right here is a rectangle. Okay, so since the base is a rectangle, we could say that this is a rectangular prism. Okay, so the base shape's a rectangle, therefore we can see that a congruent base here, okay, is the rectangle there, so therefore it is a rectangular prism. Okay, we're going to take a look at the base shape in this prism here. We can see that the base here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, and so since it has 5 sides, that would be a pentagon. Okay, so the solid figure would be right here for us. The solid figure would be a pentagonal prism. Let's try another one. Okay, first of all, in order to identify this type of prism, we need to figure out the base shape. Okay, so we can see that the base shape has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. Okay, and we know that anything with 6 sides is a hexagon. Okay, so therefore, since the base shape is a hexagon, we could say that this is a hexagonal prism. And finally, we're going to take a look at this shape. We can see that the base shape of this prism is an octagon. Therefore, since it has a base shape of an octagon, it would be considered an octagonal prism. Now let's take a look at this final question down at the bottom. It says, what special prism has congruent squares for bases and also lateral faces? Okay, now congruent squares for face and lateral faces as well. Okay, that would be a cube. Okay, so that would be a cube for that final question on page 457. Now we're going to move on to pyramids, and we can see that a pyramid is a polyhedron with only one base. The lateral faces of a pyramid are triangles that meet at a common vertex. Like a prism, a pyramid is named for the shape of its base. Okay, and we have different types of pyramids based upon their bases. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these problems here. So it says identify the base of the pyramid. Use the terms in the box to correctly name the pyramid by its base shape. Okay, so we could see the box, and what they mean by that is the box right over here. Okay, but I'm going to hide this for right now. And we can see, first of all, for the first one, we have the base, which is right here. Okay, we can easily see that the base shape is a triangle. So we'll just write triangle right here. want you to do this in your book as well. Okay, so the solid figure here, since we have a triangle as a base, okay, would be a triangular pyramid. Okay, and you can just copy that down. I'm not going to write it for the sake of time. Triangular pyramid, that's in the upper right hand corner of your book on page 458. Okay, the next one, very simple here. We can see that the shape, the base shape is actually a rectangle. Okay, so the base shape is rectangle. Okay, so since that base is a rectangle, you need to name the solid figure, and yes, it is a rectangular or a square pyramid. Okay, let's take a look at this next figure. First of all, we can see that the base shape here is a pentagon. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So base shape is a pentagon. Okay, and the name of that solid figure, since we name it by the base, okay, is a pentagonal pyramid. Now, it is also important to understand that there are some non-polyhedrons. Okay, so some three-dimensional figures have curved surfaces, and we know that anything with a curved surface is not a polygon. Okay, so these solid figures are not polyhedrons. Okay, so first of all, a cone. We understand that a cone has a circular base and one curved surface here. Okay, we can see a cylinder has two congruent circular bases and one curved surface. Okay, we can see that a sphere has no bases and one curved surface. Okay, we're all pretty familiar with these, but just a quick refresher on these non-polyhedrons. Now, what I want you to do is use this diagram, and I want you to put all non-polyhedrons and all polyhedrons where they need to go. And when you press play, I'll have the answers for you. Okay, we can see the non-polyhedrons, cones, cylinders, spheres, just from the previous page that we just went off on page 458. And the polyhedrons are pyramids and prisms. Okay, so for the first two here, we're going to classify the solid figure. So it's going to either be a prism, pyramid, cone, cylinder, or sphere. Okay, so for the first one, we know that this is a prism. Okay, we have a congruent basis here. Okay, and then the next one we can see that it is a pyramid. Okay, when you think about the definition of a prism and a pyramid, both of these fall right into this. Okay, now if we're taking a look at this solid figure here, all right, we can write the name of the solid figure. First of all, we see that it has a base of a pentagon. Okay, so we could say that this is a pentagonal prism. Now, what I want you to do are these problems in your book, and when you press play, I'll have the answers for you. Okay, so we can see first of all that the first figure would be a prism. Okay, we know it's a prism because a prism is a polyhedron that has two congruent polygons as bases. Okay, we can see that the next shape is a cylinder. Okay, remember a cylinder has two congruent circular bases and then one curved surface. Okay, going on down to name the solid figure, a triangular prism, the base is a triangle, okay, and then an octagonal prism, okay, the base here is a octagon. Okay, I want you to complete this problem-solving problem right in your book on page 460. When you press play, I will have the answer for you. Okay, so we know that the answer is a pentagonal pyramid, because remember, with a pyramid, it is named by the base shape, okay, which would be a pentagon since it has 5 sides. So a pentagonal pyramid. I want you to solve this hot problem all by yourself at your seats, and when you press play, I'll have the answer for you. The answer would be a rectangular prism. The reason why this could be the case is the base shape and the lateral faces are squares, which can also be classified as rectangles. So let's take a look at the essential question. The essential question is, how can you identify, describe, and classify three-dimensional figures? And the answer for this, we can first look at the surfaces and decide if they are flat and polygons, and if they are, We know that the solid figure is a polyhedron. If any surface is curved, I know that the solid figure is not a polyhedron. If it's a polyhedron, we can look at the bases and lateral faces to decide if it is a prism or a pyramid. Then finally, we can use the shape of the base to name the polyhedron. Okay, so this is the answer to the essential question. This concludes the video of three-dimensional figures. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.